I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Bad news in this case, of course, being good old-fashioned rumour killers on all of those really exciting rumours that have been out there for the past few days, burrowing into our brain holes, trying desperately to convince us that big things are happening. And big things are happening. But at the same time, while some journalists are putting their rumour killers in tiny little snippets behind paywalls, you get a solid hour of Tom Colohue spoiler warning right here to try and make as much sense of all of this as possible. And my word, is there a lot to make sense of. Today, we are talking Bray Wyatt, we're talking Sasha Banks, Braun Strowman, Naomi, Tyson Fury, and maybe even a little bit of Karrion Kross. There is a lot to get through, as well as, of course, your questions, and a lot that came out of Triple H's interview. For those not aware, Triple H confirmed a report of mine that, let's just say, led to all-out warfare and death threats against me. Triple H, of course, now confirming a report that, as I say, led to death threats against me. So we got a lot to say, a whole lot to say. Strap in, strap on, strap yourself, wherever you need to be strapped, because it is time for spoiler warning. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't as we jump in. So starting, of course, with Bray Wyatt. We have heard no substantial information about the presence of Bray Wyatt at Clash at the Castle. He is not on the internal rundown. Bray Wyatt is not on the internal rundown. Nobody has seen him on a flight, despite a couple of people making that joke, because he has not been on any commercial airlines. There is a slight possibility that he arrived in a private plane. After all, Triple H has been using those to travel. However, at this point in time, there is no reason to believe that Bray Wyatt will be at Clash at the Castle. My last report was that Bray Wyatt had been in touch with the WWE and they were discussing the possibility of a contract. Pardon me. An approach had been made and Bray Wyatt is said to be more receptive than he has been previously. If you have watched the video that I made, which is more than 20 minutes of discussion about exactly what happened with Bray Wyatt, shout out now and say so, because I'm particularly proud of that video and I do encourage people to go ahead and watch it. There is a lot of very, very good stuff in that. Moving on to Sasha Banks. Once again, nobody has seen any sight of her on planes, may have travelled in private jets, but this seems even less likely for Sasha Banks. When it comes to Sasha, she is not believed to be back at this point in time, but is expected to be back shortly. Triple H alluded to this in his interview with Ariel Helwani, essentially not saying much of anything, but he did leave a wide open hint, and I've done a little digging on what he said. He was discussing the question of, is this something that Sasha Banks wants? Is this something she wants to be returning to? And it struck me as a little bit odd, because he said something very similar when asked about Edge before the Royal Rumble in 2020 when Edge returned. He said something very similar about asking the question, is this what the talent in question wants? Now, to be clear, Edge did. Sasha Banks, I suspect, does as well, though there are a lot of conversations about the availability of Hollywood. She still does need WWE approval to take a Hollywood post. However, with Triple H in charge, that is becoming more and more likely. We have seen a lot of Sasha Banks recently, making appearances all across the globe for lots of different companies and different marketing opportunities. When she was not with the company and it was Vince McMahon at the helm, she wasn't making any appearances. She was utterly silent. Now she's using the name Sasha Banks, and she is simply a lot more involved. I still expect we are going to see Sasha Banks and Naomi shortly, but at this point, no sign of Sasha Banks. Naomi is much the same. There has been no evidence so far that Naomi is in attendance. To be clear, I don't expect that she will be. She and Sasha Banks, my expectation is they will be returning either on Raw in 3 days or a Raw in the near future to step up to Control. It really does depend on how the 6-woman tag match goes at Clash at the Castle, because if, as I suspect, Alexa Bliss and Asuka take a solid beating and are unable to help Bianca, leaving Bianca very isolated, that certainly does open a door. Braun Strowman is the other person whose name has been mentioned most. This is the most likely. Once again, no chartered flight. However, a strong possibility that he is on a private plane. Braun Strowman is believed to be coming back. The expectation is that he will appear for Monday Night Raw. He has already met up with and rejoined the WWE family, so I suspect he will have travelled, but I don't personally suspect he will be directly involved. I saw a question about Tyson Fury, so I'm going to leave the Tyson Fury section until I get there. But just quickly, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is believed to have travelled with the WWE to the UK. Charlotte Flair, I can confirm, is already there. Ronda Rousey is believed to have travelled, but there is no guarantee that she'll make an appearance. You've got to remember, a lot of these people will have travelled and actually taken the payment for the travelling, but that's just to basically stay with the WWE until they get to the next location. It is at this point kind of habit more than anything else. If you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit like. We have 23 likes and 69 viewers, so we have about 3 times as many viewers as likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up. It makes a huge difference to the show in ways that you cannot even realize, because we are currently at 1,540 subscribers. Every little does help, so every like does increase the viewership of these shows. I'm going to take some questions now before getting on to more news about the interview. Ed's first question is, after listening to parts of the Triple H interview with Ariel Helwani, is there a chance Triple H reworks the writing teams? Yes, there is. Triple H is looking at changes to the writing teams as we speak. There are a number of people that he's looking to quietly shift out. A couple of people who've already gone, quietly taking a payout, and a couple of people who he wants to bring in. I've mentioned Lita previously as an example. In reality, he's just looking to get more women on the writing team. He wants female writers, and he wants to bring up certain people who are writing for NXT without necessarily impacting NXT itself. Always a hard thing to do. Always a difficult one, that. They do what they can. James Jones is here, says, oh wow, can it be? Finally here. James Stewart says, only been waiting since Monday for this show. Welcome, guys. Jermaine says, hi Tom, how was your week? Hope you did something exciting. Let me be the first to say thank you for giving us the Sasha Banks news and wrestling news in general. Not a worry. It's been very entertaining watching the Sasha Banks reports come out that I've already reported. Very, very entertaining watching that happen. Not even slowly and not even of any shame. Whole lot of people making that report. Bailey says, hello Tom, how has media coverage been for Clash at the Castle within the UK? Media coverage has been alright. They've been on some of the morning shows. Roman Reigns was on Good Morning Britain. Triple H was there even before he posted a picture of him outside a private jet. I've seen a lot of journalists taking pictures with wrestlers. The media coverage in the UK is very different to the US. For example, before NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2, many of us were staying in the same hotel as the wrestlers, which is fairly standard over here in the UK. We get a heads up as to where they're staying. We stay there as well, just so that we're available for interviews and the like, and in case you run into people and have a chat, make some contacts. Undisputed Era were also staying there, and Undisputed Era were seen at the hotel. However, UK journalists don't share that information. We hint, but we're not the ones who share. Just that's a little difference between UK and US journalists that does pay off. Ed says, Colohue, welcome back. Spider-Boss says, hello Tom, on to zero news. Sasha and Naomi were on Raw this week but didn't appear because it wasn't enough TV time for them. That is not true. Sasha Banks and Naomi were not at Raw this week. If there was any reason, it wouldn't be we ran out of time. It's Sasha Banks and Naomi. That's not how it works. The referee could at any point have shortened the match and made it available. It didn't happen. They were not there. Welcome, Connor. Thank you kindly for renewing your membership for a third month. Hello to you too, sir. I hear that you got told to get back in the cupboard. Quite literally heard it. In you get. Welcome, mate. How you doing? Sean says, hi Tom, how are you? Very, very good, thank you, mate. Very good. Golden Moody says, hey Tom, it's Camo from YouTube. Hope you're doing well and can't wait for Clash. Clash is actually looking like it's going to be a promising show. We've had ups and downs with the concept, but it's nice of Triple H already to have confirmed my report that they're looking at making it a yearly event. He also confirmed a report of mine from way back when, way back when, more than 2 years ago, when I still worked for Sportskeeda, I reported that there had been discussions amongst WWE management of how to close NXT UK. At that time, another writer at Sportskeeda decided to rumour kill my report. So to be clear, Sportskeeda both reported the rumour and rumour killed the rumour. That rumour killer was entirely inaccurate, as Triple H has confirmed. There were intentions of closing NXT UK, shutting the doors and setting it up as NXT Europe just as we went into the pandemic, which was 3 months before I reported that the conversation had taken place. The end result of this report was that a number of very prominent wrestling journalists sent emails to Sportskeeda telling them to fire me. Now, Sportskeeda did not. They chose to keep me. I afterwards chose to leave. But it is one of those things where since then, there is a reason most of my reports do not pop up. It is because a number of prominent pro wrestling journalists, anytime my name is used in a report, will send emails to whatever site has covered it, telling them they need to stop. That includes PWTorch, and I will give the world of credit to Wade Keller because he's never bowed to that pressure. This report, the one that literally resulted in death threats to my personal mobile phone, one I stood by, one I had to quit jobs over when I had no other income, one by which people are literally chasing and emailing and desperately trying to get me as far out of the picture as possible. Triple H just confirmed that every word of it was true. Just wanted to point that out because that is vindication and a half. Ooh, vindication and a half. Spiderboss says, do you see Tyson Fury getting involved in Roman versus Drew at Clash at the Castle? I don't necessarily see him getting directly involved. With Tyson Fury, I think we're more likely to see him punch Gunter, personally. Though what I will say is there has been talk about Tyson Fury versus Drew McIntyre for a while. They want to make that happen. Tyson Fury's on the chase at the moment. I in fact reported that Tyson Fury would be at Clash at the Castle 4 months ago. 4 months ago. In the last week, someone else reported it, and suddenly it started popping up all over the place. That's why people here should subscribe. You get the news first. Sparrow says Triple H mentioned Sasha in the interview with BT Sports. He didn't mention her. He was directly asked a question about her. There is a difference there. He didn't go out of his way to talk about her. He was asked a question and he answered it. I do need to make it very, very clear that is a very different situation. KJ, how you doing, mate? Says, what's up, Tom? Here, finally dropped 2 likes and sorry about the number being leaked and people being terrible. People do suck. People do suck. There's only 3 wrestling journalists I'm aware of who had my personal mobile phone number. 2 of them that I think would have done it, given the context. One of them was the one who wrote the rumour killer on Sportskeeda, and the other one is the guy talking about Tyson Fury. So one of them leaked it. Raymond Sheet says, how's everything going, Tom? Going very well, thank you. I've had a very good day. James Stewart says, Christ, who sends death threats over the fact they think you're wrong? It's a great question. It's a great question. If you guys have seen what happens when you try and back me and certain people jump down your throat, maybe one of them. Jaden says, hey Tom, any Sasha news? There was a bit of Sasha news. Once I've caught up with the chat, I will reiterate. Kings Andy thinks Sasha is definitely back. Golden Moody says, in your opinion, who is most likely to win, Roman or Drew? Roman, no question whatsoever. Noob says hello. Hello, Noob. Sean says, with the news about Bobby Fish, do you see him back in WWE and how soon do you see him back? I see him back in WWE. I don't necessarily see him as an active wrestler back in WWE. I think it'll be a couple of months. Rodney, welcome, says maybe she is there but took a private jet. That is always a possibility, but she is not on the internal listing at this point in time. Ethan says, hey Tom, hey mate, how you doing? Thank you Ed for posting the Bray Wyatt video. I do highly recommend it. I did a lot of research, just like a lot of research on it, and I'm very, very happy with how it came out. Joey says, hey Tom, saw a lot of reports on Twitter that Malachi Black asked for his release. Can you confirm this? I can confirm this. He did ask for his release. I've also read the rumour killers that came out about it, and they don't exactly seem to rumour kill anything. Devil says, what happened to Karrion Kross being the main event between Drew and Roman for the Undisputed Championship? Cancelled. It was a concept early on, but the injury to Drew McIntyre made them have a rethink. It looks like Karrion Kross is likely to injure Drew McIntyre and put him on the shelf for a little bit. Spiderboss says, could we see Sasha and Naomi after Clash of the Castle? Yes, we could. Patrick says, hello Tom, how you doing? Doing very well, Patrick. And yourself? Formath says, really hope I'm able to see Fiend and Sasha Banks live on Monday. Sasha Banks is more likely than the Fiend to be in attendance on Monday. Michael says, hey Tom. Hey Michael, how you doing? Asker says, will live be booked better after Clash? Do you mean live? I'd imagine that means live, just to clarify. The booking will take on a new life. The match with Shayna Baszler is a Triple H creation. The feud of Ronda Rousey is a Vince McMahon creation. So they are evolving that as they go. Timothy Bellis, welcome, says hello Tom. Hello Timothy, how you doing? Thomas Phipps says, hi Tom, have I missed anything? You have missed a little bit. I'll reiterate as soon as I've caught up. Said Jizzle says, any chance Triple H is looking at bringing back Jen Pepperman as a writer? She was really great. I don't have any direct names, but I do know he's looking at changing up the writing team and he wants more women in that room. Joey says, what will the plan be for Braun Strowman if he's coming back? Very possibly going straight to Roman. Very possibly he's going straight to Gunter or Bobby Lashley. My suspicion is Bobby Lashley. Code says, do you think Sasha and Naomi could return on SmackDown since they were SmackDown superstars and turn heel to challenge Raquel and Aaliyah? I think if they did that, it would not work out on the basis that nobody's going to want to boo them. I think they will step up to the plate on Raw, but will not be on Raw for very long. I suspect they'll be kicked back onto SmackDown because that is where they live. David Leary says, everyone on social media is in an uproar over Triple H's comments about his sarcastic comment about AEW beating their developmental brand. Is that sarcastic? That is the actual situation. It is a developmental brand. That's how it's always been. Sai says, hi Tom and all. Enjoyed the Bray video and the prediction show with Nick. Yes, also, if you want to hear my prediction, the one I suspect is going to be happening at Clash, myself and Nick Barbatti created a video just for that purpose. And for those who don't know, live after the watch party for Clash at the Castle, pretty much immediately, we will be recording a live reaction to the show for Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. I will be joined live on this channel by Nick Barbatti of PWTorch to talk about what we'd just seen. John says Ronda was currently streaming online. Does that not indicate she didn't travel? It may well indicate that she didn't travel. She, of course, still could be traveling later, or she could be doing it from there, but usually I'm not seeing the video right now, so it suggests that she didn't. As I say, I did hear that she'd been making that trip, but if that's not the case, that's not the case. Will says, when the camera called Dakota telling Io Shirai I wasn't a legal pin, was that done on purpose for a storyline? Yes, it was. Dakota Kai was intentionally the wrong person pinned. It was, of course, the distraction provided to Io Sky by the actual live in the ring effort and the like as well. Oh, thank you, by the way, Will, for bringing that, John, for bringing that in. I appreciate that clarification. Spiderboss says, your thoughts on the hatred that got the victory of Raquel and Aaliyah on Raw? Complete bollocks. Stand by that. I think that's the perfect way to say it. Complete bollocks. Match was fine. There was nothing wrong with the match. It wasn't 5-star in any way, shape or form, but when's the last time we had a 5-star match in WWE? Don't answer that. James says, David, is Ronda David. Kings Andy says Sasha is definitely back. Triple H talking about her. Triple H was asked about her. Bianca and Bayley also talking about her in interviews. Bianca and Bayley were asked about her. She was featured in WWE's This Is Awesome clip on YouTube today. This wasn't happening before. It's true that that wasn't happening before because they weren't going out in front of media and answering questions on Sasha Banks before. There is a difference there and we do have to respect that that has happened. James Jones says Triple H has a point. NXT is a developmental brand. If you're beating Raw and SmackDown, then you're doing something right. Yeah, it wasn't a direct competition at any point. That's just not what it was. Steve Welcome says, Colohue, hope you're well, buddy. Clash is finally here. Any special PLE meals or snacks prepared for tomorrow? No, actually, I don't eat on stream, and I will be streaming for the whole damn thing. I don't even think I'm going to have much time to eat, to be honest. I'm going to a football match, then I'm going to another football match, then I'm watching the pay-per-view, then there's the post-show. Basically, I wake up, work, sleep. Wiggly says, yo, guess where I am? And imagine you're in Cardiff, mate. Met loads of superstars past 2 days. Drew, Ray, Dominic, Liv, Alexa, Bianca, Street Profits, Theory, Riddle, Rhea, Damian Priest, Charles Robinson. famous WWE superstar Charles Robinson indeed. Even I will be getting to that shortly. Spider says, I suspect after Clash at the Castle, Sasha and Naomi return, saving Bianca from Bayley and Dakota and Io. That's basically exactly what I expect as well. Wiggly says, meeting Brett and Mickie James tomorrow. Might go get Tyson Fury to sign my limited edition Clash belt. Do it. That'll be worth a hell of a lot, I'll tell you that. We saw Io. We're a bit nervous to approach. Johnny says, hi Tom, hope you're well mate. I am well, thank you Johnny. Welcome to the show. Razar says, that's awful to hear about the death threats. Did you ever consider using stage names so people couldn't find your contact info? Considered it. And for a long time I had a number of different names that I would write under, but ultimately Tom Colohue's who I am. So it's not great, but we are where we are. Tommy says, can't you sue them? I could if I knew for certain who it was. I'd need to provide evidence of who it was, and I don't have that. So Steve says, could we see Bobby Fish return to WWE in any capacity now he's no longer with AW? Yes, indeed, though I don't think he'll be actually in the ring. The amount of injuries that he's had has made him a bit of a question mark all about it. Spider-Boss says, Meltzer told Sasha and Naomi will come back soon to WWE. Spoiler warning said first. It did. It did, but I guarantee you Dave Meltzer is never going to be sharing that information. What I have found is that there are a couple of sites who still take information from Spoiler Warning and share it, but ultimately they're trolling Twitter for news, and that's how they get their news. So it's when someone takes a clip of the show and posts it on Twitter, that tends to be when it gets a lot of attention. So if you're a clipper, maybe consider doing that. We currently have 92 viewers and 41 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up. We have been growing at a tremendous pace. We're currently at 1,540 subscribers. Ideally, by the end of the show tomorrow, I want to be at 1,550. There is someone I'm competing with right now that I'd like to be able to catch up on, so if you have not considered subscribing, please consider doing so now. Wiggly says, sadly, the one I really, really wanted to meet I didn't get to. Asuka, heartbroken. But I understand she was busy today visiting a children's hospice, so that was good. Yep, absolutely. There's a number of people who really aren't in front of the camera that much. They tend to be the ones taking the photo ops instead. Not going to read that, Ed, and you know why. Wiggly says, Drew and Fury have heat from the past, so Fury might cost Drew the match. I don't see it. Pardon me. I don't see that happening. The match isn't going to be clean by any way, shape or form. I see Sammy, I see Kevin. And for other names who may be involved, you might want to check out that preview video. Mick Welcome says, hi again, mate. Anything to be excited of tonight's SmackDown? No. Honestly, I've looked at the notes and the recap, and I'm not planning to do a watch party for SmackDown tonight. Because Clash is earlier tomorrow, because I have a very jam-packed day tomorrow, starting with a 8 p.m. wake-up, I have decided not to have a SmackDown watch party tonight. I hope you all understand, especially considering that it's been pre-taped. I imagine most people already know exactly what's going to happen. I am not going to do a watch party for it tonight. Spider-Boss says, could we see Austin Theory try cash in at Clash at the Castle? Yes, we could. He is there in the UK. Digital says, Triple H's praise of Sasha was effusive and he looked like a proud dad. 180 degree from the on-camera burial and removal from all footage. Very true. Triple H and Vince McMahon obviously do things very, very differently, and there is non-stop evidence of that exact thing. Sorry to hear that, Wiggly. Sorry to hear that. Johnny says, is the NXT switch over to black and gold still happening? In the interview, Hunter seems to not mind 2.0. Hunter likes 2.0. Hunter wants to keep 2.0. The plan is not to go full-scale black and gold, but we will see a return to the black and gold sort of formula, where it works with the feuds and the characters, but a bit more personality and the 2.0 style. Ultimately, Shawn Michaels has done a good job with 2.0 so far. He is creating the next generation, and Triple H is happy with that. Will says, watching NXT this past week, it proves you right when you said there'll be more main roster crossover, when you said Triple H was going to change it to somewhat black and gold. I did indeed say that the plan was to just have a lot going back and forth, as it were. Just a lot going back and forth. And literally, as soon as I report that, it pops up that that exact thing is happening, with so many people jumping into NXT. Triple H's plan is for a lot more rotation between NXT and elsewhere. He believes that big names mean big draw, and Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai way back when was part of his strategy. I expect to see it continue. Ofer, glad to hear you going. Michael says, fantastic video on Bray. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I'm very, very happy with what we've been able to create there. And honestly, it's one of the videos I'm personally proudest of. I'm just finding the link. I'm going to pin the link at the top for anyone who does want to check it out that Ed has posted. I'm very, very proud of the video. I think there's a lot of information there that isn't common knowledge. A lot of information you can't get anywhere else. And a lot of information I've spent a lot of time researching. So I'm very proud of it. Megan says, do you think there might be anything about a possible draft being announced during the show tomorrow? Also, hi. Hi, Megan. I do think that could be. The original plan was for the draft to happen between now and Survivor Series. There is, of course, one report out there from one source stating that we are unlikely to see it until around WrestleMania time. But at this point, that's all. Just the one report. Dark Society says, Drew McIntyre wants to bring back his Broken Dreams entrance music. Hopefully we'll hear it tomorrow one more time. Now is the most likely time for that. Now is the most likely time on the basis that Drew McIntyre has not shut up about this since Triple H took over. Joey says they're planning any surprises for Clash. I'd imagine they were flown in secretly. Could well be. Could well be. There's a number of names who could be potential surprises. I'm looking at Karrion Kross, more than likely getting involved in this one. Sami Zayn we know about. There's a number of other people as well. Wrestler, I've already read that one. Joey says, do you know what Bronson Reed's contract status is with New Japan? The G1 climax has now finished. To my knowledge, that was the length of his contract. So he's now a free agent, ready to go to work if need be. Simon says, hey Tom, 34 today. Been out for a few drinks, meal in Pontefract, West Yorkshire. I've been to Pontefract, or should I say I've been to the hospital there. Is Sasha returning at Clash? There is no indication at this point that Sasha Banks will return at Clash. Wiggly says, I'm hearing rumours Io Sky isn't well, as she pulled out of the meet and greet session. When I saw her in the street later, myself and others remarked that she didn't look well. I cannot possibly speculate on that. Haven't heard anything in that regard. When you say hearing rumours, were the rumours from you and your friends? Spider-Boss says, Bianca mentioned that she would love to team up with Rhea and Liv and Raquel to face the Four Horsewomen. She'd love to team up with anyone to face the Four Horsewomen. That's basically how dream matches are made. Dominic says, are you going to be at Clash of the Castle? Nope. Are they going to do champion versus champion at Survivor Series? One of the belts coming off Roman. Well, they have to take one of the belts off Roman to get champion versus champion. I find it very likely that that will happen. All else fails, it will be in the draft that it actually happens. Code says, do you think Raquel and Aaliyah are just holding the tag titles as if Sasha and Naomi returned with Dakota and Io champs? It would weaken damage control. Not necessarily, because if they return, they could still lose. Sasha Banks and Naomi are not going to be immediately winning those championships, to my knowledge. Kingsander says Bianca was asked about Sasha in Sports Illustrated interview before Money in the Bank, and she never answered it, hence my previous comment. At the time, though, Triple H was not in charge. There's been a big change in media presentation as well. I do feel the need to point that one out. Something as simple as being able to answer those questions. There's a lot less restrictions under Triple H, but it's a fair point, Kingsander. I did at the time, Wiggly. Nothing happened. Devil says, what happened to Karrion Kross being part of the Roman... Oh, you've already asked that one. I've already answered it. Wiggly says, Drew, Ray, Dominic and Alexa and Liv and Theory all commented that they like the way I styled my hair. It's a bit of a go-to that they've gone for. Also, I don't know what your hair was, but it sounds like it was entertainingly ridiculous. Andrew Quinn says, hello, Tom. Sorry I haven't been on. Been dealing with some family news. I'm okay, though. Everyone's been very supportive. Also, my weekend will be funny. Merseyside Derby, WWE and AEW pay-per-views. Also, The Fiend. Maybe not The Fiend. Maybe not The Fiend, but I'm glad you're okay, Andrew. Glad you're okay. Spider-Boss says, does Bayley stable control win clean? I suspect it just might. We'll be recapping the news shortly, Simon. Wiggly says, I gave small gifts to all I met. Pin badges. Perfect. That's perfect. That's good, that. Discuss football. Drew says confident Rangers will beat Liverpool. Sure he is. Sean says, here's $1 million question. Are the reports about Malachi Black asking for his release true, and is it true it was denied? Yes and yes. Spider-Boss says, any chance of Mandy losing at Worlds Collide? Yes. Sean says, Dominic Theory, Alexa and Asuka were at a WWE community event in Cardiff today. They do split people off in different directions to do different photo ops and different meet and greets. As I say, Charlotte is in the UK. Haven't seen anything from her since. Saj says 2.0 was so good this week. Outstanding go-home show. Made Worlds Collide look unmissable. And of course they did it just by bringing a few people down. I'm considering it, Ed. I believe it's on Sunday, isn't it? I'm certainly considering it, as I'll have the time to do so. Joey says, do you think another change of NXT could be using more indie wrestlers? No, they will only use wrestlers that are signed to them. They will hire more indie wrestlers. That's how Triple H likes to work. Michael says, Tony Khan's comments on Thunder Rosa really, really irritated me. You and me both, mate. You and me both. That was, that raised some questions for me. Felt very tone deaf. Felt like someone who hasn't quite got to grips with his own company at this point in time. Cam, you're right. Says, okay, I got an update on Billie Kay's status and apparently she got offered a solo contract. It was really up to her. Any truth on this? What's your source on that, Cam? Let's start by giving me your source on that. Sean says, Briggs and Jensen, pretty deadly. Gallus and Creed brothers in an elimination unification match. Who do you see? Creed brothers? Let's say that. AJ says, Sasha return, please. Keep asking the question. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Devil says, where's this Miz Dexter Lumis story going? Towards a feud. Jaden says, Tom, that Bray Wyatt video was so fun to watch. Not a Bray Wyatt fan, but you made me care. Oh, thank you, Jaden. That means a lot to me. Just knowing that I've been able to make someone care, it means something to me, because that's kind of the whole deal, isn't it? That's kind of what we're all hoping for. Chauncey says, shock the system. Welcome, Chauncey. Thomas says, will you have a special overlay for Clash? Yes, I will. Sai has already created me a specialist Clash of the Castle overlay. He's also created me a specialist Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure post-show overlay. You'll get to see both of those, and hopefully we'll find them as enjoyable as I do. Sai always does great work, and it's always very entertaining. Johnny says, would Hunter change anything about NXT, such as colour scheme, logo, or even removing the 2.0 from the name? Yes, he would do all of those things. It's just whether or not he will. Steve says, watching on delay, but I'm so pleased you've got Vindication over the NXT UK reports. Anyone who sends death threats of vile human beings don't deserve success. You've always got my support. And I always have as well, Steve. You've had my back since day one, and I hugely appreciate that. You're someone I really enjoy working with, and someone that I really hope more people discover. You are very, very close to that monetization, sir, and I can't wait for that day to come. You've earned it. Kingsander says Triple H is basically begging Rocky to come back for WrestleMania in that interview. Personally, don't think it happens, and in all honesty, I don't want to see it. Imagine you're me and Rocky Maivia or The Rock. He will be talking about The Rock plenty. We're going to hear a lot more about The Rock, but at this point in time, The Rock has not been booked for anything involving the WWE. Glad to see so many people saying happy birthday to Simon. Appreciate that, guys. Thomas says, who would you say is the biggest shock return on debut that you could see at Clash? Bray. Bray would be the biggest return that we could potentially see. But to be clear, there is no evidence of any plan for the arrival of Bray Wyatt. Devil says, could there be a double turn of Ronda turning heel and Charlotte turning face? The fans will not cheer Charlotte. Charlotte will not turn face on that basis. Wrestler fan, is it likely we'll see returns? Less likely than previous. Much less likely than elsewhere because of the effort of flying everyone out. Generally, it's not really worth it, so to speak. So I don't think we'll see much in the way of returns, but I think we will see a few people. I do think we'll see Sami and Kevin Owens, for example. Joey says, when will Candice LeRae return? When she wants to. It is very much down to her at this point in time. The WWE have communicated with her, and she's explained that she's not ready just yet. And when she is, there we go. Dan, welcome, mate. Says, hello, Tom. I can sense you have a Becky Lynch update. I actually don't. No update whatsoever. Becky Lynch is still recovering. She's not travelled with the WWE. They are taking their time, and she's resting up. I expect we'll see her before the end of the year. Before the end of the year. Spider-Boss says, Tony Khan recently told WWE hasn't been good with him. Well, why would they be? There's no reason for them to be. They're trying to do their business. You're trying to do yours. Patrick says, do you see Alexa Bliss getting a repackage? She wants one. Triple H doesn't want to give it to her. He likes Alexa Bliss, but Alexa Bliss doesn't really like the Alexa Bliss character at this point in time, so they may have to. Jarrett, how you doing, mate? Says, hello, Tom. Busy weekend for you. Hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you. The busy weekend is very beneficial for me. Sean says, fans weren't happy when Aaliyah and Raquel won, saying they cheated and Dakota wasn't legal, even though I remember Jimmy saying there was a tag, and EO fans are saying Alexa and Asuka should have won if EO and Dakota weren't going to win. Yeah, that's something I don't agree with. I like the fact that we got a completely unexpected out-of-nowhere winner. I like what this means for Aaliyah and Raquel, even if it is very temporary. And I like that they've already given the dusty finish to work their way out of it. There was nothing wrong with the match. Spider-Boss says, watching CM Punk segment on Dynamite was kind of watching a motivational speech of any Rocky movie. Yeah, it was it's a bit over-dramatic. It's only wrestling, guys. King's Andy says, Tony Khan seems to have forgotten that Sasha kicked their butts in the ratings on each of her 2 appearances on NXT in 2020. She did outdraw AEW. To be fair, though, hasn't happened since. Hello, Anthony. How you doing? Great to see you, mate. Doing very well. Ghost says, hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Just got some great news. I'm approved to graduate from college next spring, so I'm extremely happy today. Hopefully the good times will continue even in the crazy world of wrestling. Congratulations, Ghost. I am really happy to hear that. That is fantastic news. Well done. Spider-Boss says, Tony Khan's comment about Thunder Rosa sounded like how Vince thinks about the women's division. Vince thought, I mean, he's not in charge anymore. James says, AEW is not the same company I fell in love with. Their talent is changing their views on things. AEW is not what it once was. That is true, and I do agree with that. AEW has had some significant changes that seem to be leaning towards the WCW mold, and that is not a good thing. Anthony says, Tom, I think the issue with WWE calling the NXT brand that was based in Europe UK was they were conditioning their fans it was only talent out of the UK specifically. Do you agree? Yes, I do, and I think that's the main reason it's going to be changing. Wheelie says, The Rock is in the UK in October. Oh, you have to meet him. Joey says, I wonder if Thunder Rosa will want out of AEW next. Quite a few people backstage in AEW at this point in time privately want out of the company. There's only been one person that I'm aware of has asked for his release, and he's not been granted it. That has been Aleister Black. But there's a few people who, from what I can tell, are planning to run their contracts down. Simon says, thank you, Tom, over the last year for all the Sasha news updates. Not a worry. I have definitely been the guy with the most confirmed reports about Sasha Banks, after all. Cam says, I'd have Billy be booked with her resume. Okay, you've not answered the question there, Cam, about a source. What was your source for this? Wiggly. Triple H does not want Goldberg. William Barrett says, I guess the current rumoured plan for Bray is to have him in the title picture by having him interfere in the main event. One thing I'm surprised of is that he could be getting a new theme. Well, I appreciate that he said rumours in big letters there. That's fantastic. I don't need to worry about a source if you're just saying rumours. You're not reporting it as fact. That's great. A new theme would be confusing. I loved that theme. Loved it. Also, I think being in the title picture is a bad thing. Thank you, Cam. I must have missed that somewhere. I must have missed that. I haven't heard anything about that, to be clear. I haven't heard anything about that. Yeah, so for Bray Wyatt, I think putting him straight into the title picture is a very, very bad choice. After all, when he was champion last time, it was basically a noose around his neck. So, King Xana says, are you drinking water? I'm drinking lemonade. It's got a few little bubbles in it. You can see him just bubbling around. And yes, I noticed I've got fingerprints on the glasses. Sean says, do you think Alexa turns on Saturday? Nope. James says, I know it all over the place and too much has gone on behind the scenes. Yeah, true. Hey, Moxie, how you doing? There was a bit of news, rumour killers, essentially. I'll recap them shortly. Ed says, Tom must be out of Cherry Coke. I am, actually. I am. I was tempted to set up a Amazon wish list, which is just endless bottles of Cherry Coke getting sent to my house. Why the hell not? Welcome, Mohammed Nazari. They would not add Bray Wyatt's character to 2K22. If he does return, even if he did return at Clash, they would save him for 2K23, which is out fairly soon. Moxie, your friend did not see Bray Wyatt at Cardiff. Justin says, hoping we get Alexa Bliss back as a heel. This current Bliss is absolutely atrocious. I don't necessarily agree. This is the genuine article. This is Lexi Kaufman. This is who we've got. So I don't think it's fair to say that's awful. This is when the character's not turned up to 11. This is a real person. And the amount of people coming out saying, I hate this real person, is an issue for me. Now, don't get me wrong, you haven't said that. You're perfectly entitled to prefer a different character. I like the goddess as well, but that's not what we're going to get. So he says, really looking forward to the British crowd tomorrow, hoping for the football songs. Drew is talking of Hey Jude on BT Sport. That crowd could be special. The crowds are going to be furious that they can't chant Randall Keefe. You know, Randall Keefe, Randall Keefe, Randall Keefe to Randy Orton. Joey says, do you think Bray will come back with a new gimmick if he returns, or possibly reunite the Wyatt family? No plans to reunite the Wyatt family. There has been discussions about a return of The Fiend. No discussions about a new gimmick to my knowledge. Simon, the only live news that I've got basically is based on the match finish, so I'm not going to share it here. Devin says, are Aaliyah and Raquel just placeholder champions till Sasha and Naomi return? No, but they are placeholder champions. Simon says, Liv was playing basketball with Drew, Sheamus, Rhea for kids' charities. She was. Also, Sheamus turned up for a Liverpool game. I believe Drew was there as well, just to take it in. Good times. Noob says, do you think we'll see a feud between Asuka and Io Sky? Yes. Michael says, I don't want Punk or Mox as champion. It seems like Mox was just champion. And Mox was the original AEW champion, so it was actually a while back. But I don't think you're going to have to worry about Mox for too long, I tell you that. Spider-Boss says, do you see the Judgment Day winning at Clash at the Castle? My preview video with my full predictions is live on the YouTube channel as we speak. By all means, check this out after this live video finishes. It is with Nick Barbati of PWTorch, my colleague for Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. We are doing fantastic when it comes to the likes and the chat rate. We have 62 likes so far with 111 viewers. Please hit that thumbs up if you can. It makes a huge difference to the show, and subscribe if you haven't already. Simon, I don't know who the Joker is. Yes, there are rumours of MJF. Adam Cole is near fitness to my knowledge, but I don't know if he's actually confirmed fit. But when it comes to MJF, I'm confident we'll see him back shortly. Cam says, any update on Zelina's status? Still injured to my knowledge, coming back relatively soon. Devil says, I imagine Drew will beat Roman for the title and Heyman will announce there was a clause in the contract, then the match was for the WWE title and not both. To my knowledge, not the plan. Roman will be winning. I hope so too, Wiggly. Hector says, I was able to get around to watching the Triple H interview of Ariel Helwani. Such great insight into Paul Levesque, the man behind the character. Knowing he was essentially an incident away from potentially dying is insane. Glad he's recovered and he's in charge. He's in a great position right now, apparently feels a lot better, and I'm just really, really hopeful of his future. Spider-Boss says, your thoughts on Liv's title reign? So far, not great. She has been the underdog in every possible way. This is very much Vince McMahon booking. He's trying to create a female Daniel Bryan. He has been doing so for a while. But with Daniel Bryan, he had all of this behind him before he became champion. Mike says, was Noam Dar part of the silent releases in NXT UK, or is he still employed? To my knowledge, as an active champion, he is still employed by the WWE. Sean says, is it true that Bayley could be getting a new theme? They are currently talking about the concept of having a combined theme for the faction. Will says, how many women you know from AEW might want out? I don't have much in the way of names. I'd say 2 or 3 that I'm personally aware of. Anthony says, Tom, with the tweaks that Triple H made the past few weeks has made to Drew McIntyre's character, can you see him possibly calling up Gallus and Kaylee Ray to the main roster without the ladder winning championships in NXT and pairing them up with Drew? Thoughts? Not Vince. Triple H has no interest in nationalist factions. So, no, I don't see that happening. There is no reason whatsoever to pair them up apart from their nationality. So, it won't happen. Razar says, all these people wanting out of AEW because Vince is gone. Isn't there still a possibility that Vince returns? Nope. He's the major shareholder. He is not employed by the WWE. He will not be making decisions outside of his shareholder position any longer. It's not going to happen. Steve Engblom, welcome, says, do you think Tony Khan is getting a little nervous about his company's standing relative to what it once was? Yeah, probably. He's been under a lot of stress recently. He's been told to tighten things up and cut some costs, and it's made a few people quite unhappy. Simon says, how valid of a source is Zero News? Asking me a question. Thank you, Bakri, for following on Twitch. If you are watching on Twitch, please do remember to follow. You can also subscribe and donate if you would like to as well. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you do have channel membership and super chat options live as well if you'd like to support the channel. The easiest way to support is to hit like and comment, chat away. Even if all you're doing is saying hi to everyone, do it individually, really spread it out, go for it. But you always have the options of financially supporting with a channel membership or a super chat. As regards Zero News, what I said when asked this previously was that everyone should start taking note of what they report and look back on it a month from now. What I can say is that their report about Sasha Banks and Naomi being at Raw was not true. I can also say that they did have the Braun Strowman news. They did have the Aleister Black news. So no one is right 100% of the time. You should never only have one source. Get two sources for everything and anything, or it's not a fact. Doesn't matter who the report comes from. If it's one source, it's one source, and you need two. Well, it says no way Bray is coming back anytime soon. He will come back, but not for a while yet. I will recap what I've already said about it, but that is essentially the case there, word. Patrick says, do you see Raquel getting her NXT name back? Yes, I do. Spider-Boss says, it would surprise me if Moxley wins All Out, but I see Punk winning. Me too. Kings Andy says, what's this about Solo Sikoa heading to SmackDown? There are strong rumours that Solo Sikoa is going to be going up to SmackDown. I personally don't want to see it. I don't think that's really going to give him much of an opportunity, but we are where we are. Thomas says, personally, I don't think that Bray needs a world title, as whoever you have defeat him will undo all the hard work that would have been done in building him up. Correct. I agree with that. Anthony says, Tom, what superstars do you want to get repackaged that are either on NXT or the main roster? Nikki Cross. I think they could do better with Nikki Cross than Nikki Ash. I just think they could do better. Moxie says, Tom, I'd love to see Austin Theory cash in for the WWE Championship. When the bell rings, Drew claims him, wins the championship, but Roman has the Universal Championship. It's possible, I guess. Possible. Joey says, I'm glad this card's going to be smaller so we get more wrestling. As I've mentioned, Triple H loves to work with a smaller card. We will be seeing smaller pay-per-views going forwards. Noob says, both Alexa Bliss and Asuka's current characters are representations of their real-life personality. Absolutely accurate. Simon says, do you see Alexa return to the goddess character? Nope. Connor says, they can't chant Randall Randall Keep, but they can chant you are bro. I can't wait for the Bailey song. Hey, hey, Bailey. Hoo. Ah. Spider-Boss says it was weird all that mess about the post that Matt Riddle's ex-girlfriend made. Yep, it was weird. Most of that information's already kind of public knowledge as well. Matt Riddle, for his part, very rarely denies things. Anthony says, Tom Vergale, Moxley specifically, does he really need to be champion at the top of the card to make himself more legitimate, or could he do well without it? He absolutely could do well without it, and he has. But then by that same thing, the actual champion would be way down the ladder and wouldn't be a main eventer. I mean, Nazari says, I'm going to be at Clash of the Castle. Which match are you interested? I'm interested in Drew versus Roman because they could shock us and make Drew double champion. It would be a hell of a shock. I'm most interested in Sheamus versus Gunter for what I feel are obvious reasons. Tommy says, I'm pumped for Clash of the Castle and NXT Worlds Collide. It looks like we're going to get some good shows ahead. It really does. Cam says, are there any reports on who Bianca is going to drop her title to, or will she go to Survivor Series? Latest reports are she will be dropping it to Bayley, but it looks like she will get to Survivor Series. Sai says Alexa's fine. She's being her authentic self. The reason that WWE is working for me now is that they're acting and reacting like real humans would behave, e.g. the Seth Riddle segment on Raw. I completely agree. We're getting more realistic individuals rather than larger-than-life personalities, and for me, that's working. Yes, Wiggly, Asuka and Io will go to house shows in Glasgow. Ghost says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited is everyone for one of the most wrestling-packed weekends of the year? There's something for everyone, so this will be a good time regardless of the feud between WWE and AEW, seemingly growing day by day. There may be a feud from AEW's side, but as I've reported many, many times, WWE could not care less about AEW. Code said if Asuka and Alexa get absolutely brutally beaten by Damage Control tomorrow, it'll just mean Sasha and Naomi more likely on Monday rather than later. Yep, that's absolutely correct. Good question, Wiggly. Devon says, who would you book as your female Daniel Bryan? Liv Morgan. To be fair, Becky Lynch already was the female Daniel Bryan, but she isn't anymore. AEW fan is not hyped for All Out, which is interesting considering you're an AEW fan. Code says that doesn't leave them on the sidelines for a while. It does leave them on the sidelines for a while. I'd have to work out something new. Andre, welcome, says, forgot to mention Tyson Fury returning at Clash. I did not. I first reported on Tyson Fury coming back to the WWE Clash at the Castle 4 months ago. Every now and then, these videos look like I'm not doing breaking news. In reality, the reason I don't do breaking news is because I broke it several months previously. Noob says, your thoughts on Mickie James' announcement of her potentially retiring? I don't think it'll happen yet. She's got a lot to give first, but the moment will eventually come. The Jill says, really loved the Bray video. Thank you kindly. If you're taking suggestions on the next one, a good recap of Tony Khan's terrible booking of the women's division would be welcome. I could certainly have a dig into that. It's a good suggestion, mate. Kingsander says the issue with Liv is that she's not great in-ring wise. I think she's alright. That is only getting more exposed with her having the title. She's not been booked to actually wrestle. She was booked with Ronda Rousey to get beat up and then escape. Same is happening with Shayna. Hector says the rumours of Braun Strowman's imminent return. I trust Triple H will use him better than Vince ever did. Maybe this could be someone they could feed to Bobby. I'd much rather see mid-card Braun over main event Braun. I think that's how we're going to be starting, yes, with an absolute war between Braun and Bobby. And then eventually, Braun versus Cody. Spider-Boss is enjoying the reaction between Rhea and Dominic. Andre says Adam Cole's going to be back at WWE very, very soon. Well, he's under contract elsewhere at the moment, so definitely not. AW fans says, still think Monday is the likeliest date for Sasha and Naomi? Yes, I do. Billy says no more USA versus Evil Foreigner matches. I mean, Gunter was the Evil Foreigner. That's what they were planning. Word says if Drew loses tomorrow, all this amazing build-up thing will be pointless. Roman needs to drop those titles. He is stale now. I agree with your second point. I don't agree with your first point. After all, Kevin Owens hasn't exactly gone off the radar entirely since losing. Patrick, mate, you alright? Says I've seen many people say Alexa Bliss should turn heel. I said it should be Asuka who should turn heel. Alexa is popular and gets good reactions. I don't think they need to turn heel on each other. I think they could do good work without really worrying about it. Michael says it seems like the entire roster is on All Out and I don't like it. Tony Khan has an interesting way of booking. It's very Vince McMahon. Joey says Triple H is bringing back veteran wrestlers to work as coaches. Wesley Blake was a guest coach recently. And Red Dragon, maybe some of those at some point soon. Khalid says, hey my friend, today Bray Wyatt has followed WWE on Twitter. Has he? Because I didn't see any evidence that he'd unfollowed WWE. Wiggly says, why have things gone so pear-shaped for AEW so quickly? 1 minute they're doing good in the ratings, 2 minutes with Impact, Bayern, Ring of Honor working with New Japan, now they're on slide. What gives? Just some issues backstage. I think the MJF thing triggered a lot more. Andre says the only big return for Raw is Braun Strowman. Leo says, what's the news on Wyatt and has Braun confirmed? Braun has not confirmed the news on Wyatt. I will recap as soon as I've caught up with the chat. Moises said, what happened to Lacey Evans? A creative hiatus. They didn't like the plan that was in place for her, so Triple H took her out of the firing line. Anthony says, Tom, I'm still thinking this. I want your thoughts. I think they're possibly going to use Kurt as a manager. He's going to be managing the rest of Diamond Mine. There is no plan to do that. Sean says, do you believe the rumours that Braun will be at Raw? Yes. Michael says, I want both Nikki and Bianca to go back to their NXT characters. They will not change Bianca at this point in time. Simon says, will Clash of the Castle be on WWE Network or just BT Sports? To my knowledge, both. I would hope both, because they get better service on the network. Absolutely, Spider-Boss. Sean says, the information from Riddle's ex-wife made Alexa go private on Twitter. I think that's fair. Why on earth was she tagged? Thomas says, do you think that we could see Breakker change back to Steiner? Nope. I don't believe it's a change. They will not be using him as Steiner going forwards. Leo says, did you see the Triple H clip of him talking about Wyatt and saying I love working with him? Then backtracked quickly and said, I loved working with him, then got quiet. He does take his time answering questions, Triple H. I don't think we can read too much into that. KJ says, love how Zero News keeps getting thrown around, but don't you think the more people call him out and give him attention, the more he'll grow? He's picked up mad followers recently. Yeah, that is exactly what's happening. Controversy makes cash. That is literally exactly what's happening. AW fan says, do you think Malachi would be treated better back in WWE or in AW? In WWE right now because of Triple H. Spider-Boss says, who do you see beating Liv for the SmackDown Women's Championship? Ronda. Rizal says, can't wait for Clash. Brain the show ends with Roman passing out from a mandible claw. I don't see it. KJ says around Zero News, it's 50-50, he gets something right then something completely wrong. True. Moxie says, I can't wait for Seth versus Riddle. Feel like either Seth cheats to win or they both get DQ'd. I think it'll just turn into a brawl and they would kill each other. I do think Seth will win clean. Simon Gold, I've already answered that question for you. Anthony says, Tom, I understand this is a premium live event, but what major of the big four would you want to come back to the UK between Rumble, Survivor Series or SummerSlam or WrestleMania? Rumble, no question whatsoever. The Royal Rumble for me is the best show of the year, hands down, every year. Admittedly, it was terrible this year, but it's the Royal Rumble. Michael says, was William Morrissey signed by AEW? Didn't see the is all elite tweet. I think it would be an unnecessary signing. He's there temporarily at the moment with a view to signing if he performs well. Even if we could get WrestleMania, I'd rather have the Royal Rumble, Anthony. KJ says, PWInsider saying Solo scored to SmackDown immediately has been said since before SummerSlam. It's literally your I'll say it until it happens scenario. A lot of people do this. Thank you very much, Moises, for the subscription on the YouTube side. We do continue to grow, and I'm very, very grateful for everyone who has subscribed to the show so far during. Please remember as well to hit that thumbs up. We now have 72 likes and 112 viewers. Thank you everyone who's already done so. AW fans says, hopefully the train sounds aren't back with Bray. I hope not. That's a very Vince thing. Jermaine says, hey Tom, what would be the best match by WWE this weekend? Sheamus versus Gunther. I'm very excited about it. Cam says, any other female returns besides Naomi and Sasha? Not at this point in time, though Charlotte's name, of course, keeps getting brought up. She will be back soon. Wiggly says, is it wrong for me to feel uncomfortable about WWE getting Tyson Fury involved so much, given he isn't very PG in terms of stuff he has said and done? He will behave for the WWE. Spider-Boss says, Liv recently told that she thinks fans booed her because of the way how it ended her match with Ronda. Yep, that's exactly how it happened. Miss T says, hi Tom, if Bianca goes to Survivor Series, does this mean she'll possibly be in another 6-person tag match at Extreme Rules? No, it means she is likely going to be taking someone on at Extreme Rules, but I do suspect she will still make it to Survivor Series. Bailey says, Shayna could be a great heel champion, but I don't see it happening. Neither do I. AEW fan says, Adam Cole a Joker in the casino ladder match? Certainly a possibility. To my knowledge, he is close to a return. Wiggler says, Madcap Moss is doing a meet and greet tomorrow. His wife Emma is over at the event. I'm meeting Brett, Fury and Mickey. Busy man. Michael says, I think Braun is more of a special attraction and not a champion. I agree. Hopefully Triple H does as well. Anthony says, the whole situation with Baker and Rosa I blame on Tony. I don't know why. It's obviously a personal thing. Simon, you've asked that question 3 times. I've already answered it. Rosal says, what are your thoughts on Tony Khan's comments on Thunder Rosa? I think he could have been a bit more diplomatic about it. KJ says, would you have Sheamus versus Gunther or Rollins versus Riddle to start off show? Neither. I would have the 6-woman tag match opening the show. AW fan says something no one has mentioned, and he's a master of ladders. What if Jeff is the Joker at All Out? Certainly I think that's a very likely scenario. He is a master of ladders, and it's Jeff Hardy, to my knowledge. He's being cleared and is ready to go back to work. Bismo, I'm looking most forward to Sheamus versus Gunther. Moxie says, I feel like Liv is a much bigger deal when she's in a chase for the titles. Standard face then. Steve says, thank you Tom. Always enjoyed our work together. Always grateful for your support as well. Thank you very much for that, Steve. As I say, and I know Ed's been doing this as well, we want to get you monetized. So if need be, we'll just set ourselves to watch a playlist of yours and get it over the line however we can. These things are doable. These things are doable. So certainly I think it may be time to just pull that trigger. AW fan says, do you think Andrade will end up back in WWE? He's under contract elsewhere at the moment. I don't know if he wants to leave, but if he does become a free agent, Triple H will be interested. Joey says, apparently Gable Steveson hasn't made good progress in the PC. Do you think he'll go to NXT instead of getting fast-tracked to the main roster? It is not an option. It is contractual that he is on the main roster and skips NXT. The WWE are not happy with him at the moment due to a lack of availability, and that has not exactly been a help. Anthony says, Tom, the issue with the ratings of AEW is their viewership. Is they're so focused on catering to their fan base, they don't want to expand to the casual fan base for wrestling. I've been saying since day one of AEW, the retention rate is their biggest problem, and it still is. Devil says, if not Drew, who? And if not Clash of the Castle, when will Roman drop the titles? Great question. Who the hell knows at this point? I like the idea of it being Sammy at this point, to be honest. Go says, why is Tony Khan participating in more interviews in the talent this weekend? For example, the YouTube series Ring the Bell requested an interview with Tony Storm, but got Tony Khan instead. Is this a method of damage control from rumours of tension backstage, or does it simply come down to availability? Tony Khan is always the most vocal person in AEW. That has not changed. Charles Berg says, talk about Wales, UK, Triple H should bring back Tegan Knox. Tegan Knox was released by the WWE not for a lack of interest in the character, but because of injuries. Hector says, WWE is pulling at my heartstrings, having broken dreams being involved in Drew's promotional lead up to Clash. I never want him to lose. With that theme, it's so damn good. Be ready to sing your heart out then. Miss T says, I'm also hoping for some major non-title feuds for the women. Keep your eye on Becky Lynch then, and keep your eye on Charlotte Flair. Joey says it's almost being pulled from TV, or is he being less featured? He's being repackaged. AW fan says, what Iconics have been back if Peyton wouldn't have got pregnant? There was interest from Triple H in the return of the Iconics, but obviously that is not a possibility at this point in time. Nazari says, I don't think they are using Edge that good. He deserves at least a championship, but still I'm liking the rivalry with Judgment Day. I actually much prefer Edge without the championship. He's a much bigger help to the people that he's working with. I think having him go straight for the championship was a bad call. DC says, on that last interview, Triple H had he mentioned NXT, South Africa, Mexico and Asia. Sounds like he wants a World Cup style wrestling event. Your thoughts? I've already reported this. When the news first broke that NXT UK was shutting down, I went into depth about the globalization and the continental plans in great detail. So it's nice of Triple H to have confirmed 3 of my reports in his interview today. Simon says, do you think Mandy Rose wins at Worlds Collide? Maybe. Keith O'Toole says, is Brock Lesnar appearing tomorrow night? Nope. AW fan says, when do you think Triple H will start doing conference calls again? Shortly, once a quarter. Leo says, I think zero news is... okay. I'm going to focus mostly on what I'm reporting. Unless you're using Zero News as a source, I'm not going to sit here and say they're credible or they're not. You guys can work it out. Just watch what they're doing and find out. AW fan says, do you think WWE doing a media scrum after pay-per-views like AEW does would benefit WWE? The WWE already does media scrums after pay-per-views. They're just not as heavily publicised. Word says, I heard a few reports which I fail to believe that Ronda and Charlotte do an official double turn at Clash. Are you in the same boat as me that the reports are complete BS? Yes, I am. That's complete garbage. Ring Scoops, how you doing, mate? It's been a little while. Hope you're well. Welcome to the show. Moxie says, The Fiend coming back and attacking Roman to me makes no sense. I agree. Sean says, do you think Tony denied Malachi's release because he feared losing him to WWE like he did with Cody? No, not necessarily. I think he denied him the release because they still think they can use him more. AW fan says, might Roman be going into Clash solo? No. But yes. Sean says, any updates on Carmella? Not really. She's still there. That's kind of it. Rinskew says, why was Bastion Booger never WWE champion? He never got the push he deserved. I always thought we should have seen more opportunities for, what was his name? Blackjack Bradshaw. That's the guy for me. Never had a shot. AW fan says, Ricochet versus Carmelo will be match of the weekend. Certainly could be if you're into that style. I'm more into Sheamus versus Gunter. Byron, welcome, says, if Triple H could bring back this many people in 1 month, wonder what Royal Rumble 2023 will be like. Carnage. Spider-Boss says, I think with Solo Sikoa going to SmackDown, we could see Sami Zayn getting kicked out from the Bloodline, which would then start a nice feud and a tag team with Kevin Owens. Pan Robertson just says, Bray Wyatt. Great. Spider-Boss says, for All Out, it's very predictable that Britt Baker will win. Tony Storm is the most likely winner at this point in time. Cam says, are there any plans for Tiffany, Indy or Wendy going on the main roster? Indy Hartwell will be shown the way. Zandy says, am I wrong in saying the reigns of both women's champs have been underwhelming? Bianca Belair's reign has been okay so far. I enjoyed her work with Becky. I enjoyed her work with Asuka. I'm enjoying her work with Bianca. Can't tell you what pen to use, Wiggly. That's a personal decision that really is important for the individual to make. Carlos says, Moxley versus Roman WrestleMania main event if The Rock can't wrestle. Well, Moxley would first need to be in the WWE, so can't say that at this point, can I? Michael says, do they edit anything into SmackDown after the women's tag titles? I don't think so. There's no real point having a reference to them. I'd imagine there'll be a backstage interview and a congratulations and some canned audio over it, but that'll be it. Cam says, also Sonya Deville versus Bianca was originally for Backlash. Any reason why I got scrapped from the pay-per-view? Not sure on that one. Not sure. Also, who said that was the original plan? To my knowledge, Rhea Ripley versus Bianca was the plan. And they were looking at Naomi versus Bianca Belair. Wasn't there a Sonya versus Bianca? Baron says, if Triple H... I've already read that. Spider-Boss says, fans turn against Liv. It's like Bryan Danielson said once. Fickle. Who is this? Bryan Danielson you keep talking about. Anthony says, Tom, do you think Triple H might send Dominic down to NXT? It is a contractual requirement in Rey Mysterio's contract that Dominic Mysterio is on the main roster. Now, he may make appearances in NXT, but that's the deal. Will says, I know WWE did a deal with Impact to have Mickie James in the Royal Rumble. Do you think Triple H will try to do the same next Royal Rumble with other promotions? Nope. Steve says, with so much wrestling this week, what match do you feel will be match of the weekend? Gunter versus Sheamus. AEW fan says, do you think CM Punk is holding AEW down? Nope. Keith says, where has Alberto Del Rio been lately? Far, far away from the cameras. KJ says Triple H also said in an interview with Ariel that it was plans for a possible match for him at Mania 38 versus Gable Steveson. It was indeed. Sean says, was it contractual that AJ Styles and Ronda Rousey skip NXT? Debate as to contractual is more a case of Vince McMahon didn't want them in NXT. Bismo says, do you think Bobby Fish returns to WWE and teams with Roderick Strong? No, but I do think he returns to WWE. AW fan says, what about Cody versus Drew at Mania? Both men left, paved their own paths and got back to WWE. Cody will be busy at WrestleMania. Saj said, would love if Roman defended at Survivor Series in triple threat, 2 out of 3 falls, 1 title on the line each fall, aka Angle versus Jericho versus Voldemort. Okay, so what for the third fall? What would be the third fall? Anthony says, what is your fantasy booking for this whole apparent storyline they're doing with Dexter Lumis? I have no fantasy booking. I'm just excited to see how it plays out. I don't know enough about Dexter Lumis, but I can say they will be showing the way. Baron says if Drew McIntyre does not beat Roman, then Seth Rollins will beat Roman at Survivor Series 2022. You sound very confident of that. King Rail does not like AEW. Spider-Boss says the more fans expect Roman lose the titles, Roman keeps retaining. He does indeed. Steve says, as Sasha and Naomi were SmackDown superstars before, is it possible that they could return on the blue brand? I would expect them to return on the red brand, but they are blue brand members. AW fan says, what do you think of the comparison of Wardlow being AW's Batista? I don't know enough about it to say. From what I can tell, they're both big guys, and I think that's the only real comparison. Will says, is it me or did it feel like Tony Khan threw Thunder Rosa under the bus? That was your feeling about it. I can't say that is the feeling about it. Mohamed Nasri is off to sleep. Thank you, Mohamed Nasri, for joining us. Thank you for saying have a great stream. Hope you have a great nap. Well, sleep. Michael says, I can't stand the trios title in AEW. I can't stand multi-man tag matches. There's such a formula of everyone being in or out of the ring for the first 5 minutes or so, and I hate it. Then it's so hard to tell who's legal, and the talent doesn't seem to know either. Well, to be fair, the talent isn't supposed to know. The referee is supposed to know. Hector says it's super interesting that if Triple H hadn't had the health scare, he had planned to help get Gable Steveson over. Indeed it is. Simon says, do you see Batista going in the Hall of Fame next year? Maybe. Anthony says, Tom, what are your thoughts on Triple H saying he's doing a free-tiered developmental system for the company? That was always his original plan and the way it was laid out. I expect we're going to see plenty more of it as it becomes exactly as he requested. AEW fan, I agree. FTR do have unfinished business. Nice ring scoops, nice. Zandy says, we need the return of babyface Sami. I haven't seen him since 2016. A babyface tag team partnership may be coming between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. What I will say is that I did report a little while back that Kevin Owens had a face turn coming. And look at what we're seeing. Anthony says, the first step is NXT level up, getting ready for television on NXT. NXT is getting superstars ready for the main roster. AW fan says, I know it won't happen, but it ties in with the UK. Marcus Will get a huge pop at Clash. He will not be appearing at Clash. He will not be appearing in the WWE under any circumstances. No, Simon, The Rock is not scheduled for anything with the WWE. Spider-Boss says, I think Liv's title reign needs Charlotte for fans to cheer Liv again. I agree with that. Word says, can you see the Usos losing the tag team titles before Roman ever loses his, titles? Yeah. Kind of. Maybe. Hard to tell. It'll be around the same time. Simon says, do you see Punk winning at All Out? Yes. AW fans says, if Thunder Rosa are up soon, would WWE be interested? Yes, as a referee. Cam says, Rio's winning the bank. Naomi's fell in the cell while Sonya challenged at Backlash. Wasn't Backlash Becky Lynch and Asuka? Wiggly says, will NXT be doing any future UK tours? Yes, they usually do 2 a year. AW fan says, do you think Mickey has her official last wrestling match in WWE? I think she has her official last wrestling match wherever we'll have her. Probably Impact. Moxie says, I wish we got Gunter versus Samoa Joe. It's not over yet. Keith says, Danielson versus Jericho is going to be good at All Out. Haven't seen them wrestling each other since NXT in 2011. Should still be very fast paced, I'll tell you that. Wiggly says, saw Triple H mention on this morning. Tell me, Tom, why is a man still mentioned? Wiggly, was he asked about him? Great question, AW fan. I suggest Jurgen Klopp. Rondell says, picture this. Sasha, Naomi and Bray Wyatt hiding out in a WWE jet in Cardiff. I have pictured it. It's not happening. AW fan says, I think Triple H should post a hug photo just for the heck of it. Twitter would be fun. Well, yeah, why not? You should hug a person in a giant white suit so you can Photoshop yourself in. Moxie says, and I agree with this, I think KO shouldn't be a face or a heel, he should just be a badass, and I think that's what we have. Anthony says, Tom, can you see Triple H calling up Solo about him winning a title on NXT? Yep. Ben says, I would love to see them bring back the European title at Clash of the Castle. Not going to happen, but would be cool. I agree with everything you said there, Ben. Absolutely. Hector says, it's crazy how much a year makes. We went from everyone hating WWE and seeing Tony Khan as someone we can look forward to bring change. Now it's the opposite. And now Triple H has taken that post and people are soured on Tony Khan. Soured in a big way. Oh, interesting, Zandy. Absolutely get that money. Byron says, do you see MJF returning at AEW All Out? I see MJF returning soon. Right, Wiggly. So Triple H didn't mention him. He reacted to being asked about him. Bismo says, do you think they should drop the 2.0 from NXT in the near future? They will eventually, much like they dropped Live from SmackDown Live. Sean says, I wish we'd get Moxley versus Gunter. Once again, the world isn't ended yet. Keith says, if Judgment Day win tomorrow, do you think they'll be in line for a tag team title shot? Nope, they're heels. KJ says, Roman versus Rollins at Survivor Series this year, 8 days after they debuted 10 years ago. That would be cool. I would very much like that. Simon says, your favourite NXT UK champion in history? It would be Gunter. Anthony says, let's say Roman retains. Who do you think finally beats him? Either Survivor Series, Rumble or Mania next year, because the Rock and Roman match doesn't need to be for the titles. I would like it to be someone like Bobby Lashley. I'd also like it to be someone like Sami Zayn or Braun Breaker. It'll probably be Cody. Michael says, I used to love the way Tony Khan talked about wrestling in AEW, but now he sounds like a Twitter fanboy. The rose-coloured glasses have fallen. Spider-Boss says, who do you see facing Bianca for the Raw Women's title at Extreme Rules? Some element of Bayley. I'd imagine maybe she doesn't actually appear at Extreme Rules, and they save it for her match at Survivor Series, and then in December she starts to take on Bayley. I don't think she'll necessarily appear. The big downside with only having 5 or 6 matches per pay-per-view is that you can't have all the championships. That's why we're seeing a US championship, then the next one an IC championship, and so on. Favourite NXT Women's Champion was Kaylee Ray, Spider-Boss. Word says, will we ever get one undisputed title and one set of undisputed tag team titles? No, they're going to break them up. That's the reason they still have 2 belts. Anthony says, do you think Daniel Garcia turns on Jericho? I don't watch enough of it to know. King Xander says, have you watched House of the Dragon and Rings of Power? Really enjoyed the format, especially given how Thrones ended. Not yet. I'm waiting for a full season to be available of both so that I can jump into it. Moxie says, I still think that Rhea is going to be the person to dethrone Bianca. I still think Bayley is going to be the person, but I wish it had been Rhea. That said, she's got a good storyline going right now, so I'm happy with it. No updates on Zelina Vega at the moment, Steve. She's recovering well. And Rinsky says, what is your all-time favourite WrestleMania opening match? WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. To recap from earlier on, a few rumour killers about reports that have been going wild. Bray Wyatt, to my knowledge, is not in the UK. He is not hiding on a jet and will not feature at Clash of the Castle. Sasha Banks, to my knowledge, is not in the UK, is not hiding on a jet, will not feature at Clash of the Castle. Naomi, to my knowledge, is not in the UK, is not hiding on a jet, and will not feature at Clash of the Castle. Braun Strowman, probably in the UK, may well feature at Clash of the Castle. Tyson Fury, meanwhile, will be ringside. And 4 months ago, I did report that had happened. Shane says, I hope Bray returns tomorrow. I don't see it. Rain Scoop says, where would Eddie versus Ray rank on your list of opening matches at Mania? I only watched it the once. It didn't really stick in my head. You've got to remember, Rain Scoops, for a wrestling fan, the thing I enjoy least about wrestling is the actual wrestling. Anthony says, how would you repackage Zelina Vega or Carmelo if Triple H came to you and asked you to work in creative? Carmelo, I wouldn't repackage at all. As regards Zelina Vega, I'd slightly tweak her back towards Los Ingobernables de Japón. That's the right way. Spider-Boss says, I think we still get Rhea versus Beth Phoenix after Clash of the Castle. Yep, me too. Sasha says, is Mox still on a handshake deal? To my knowledge, yes, for another week or so. Tommy says, Ricochet versus Hayes is going to be amazing. I agree. Joey says, when Zelina returns, will she be used as a manager? No. Byron says, Survivor Series is not the next pay-per-view. Crown Jewel is the next pay-per-view on November 5th. I believe Extreme Rules is the next pay-per-view, Byron. KJ says, speaking of KO, I personally like the edge Triple H is allowing everyone to have. Rollins, KO, Riddle, etc. Riddle has completely lost the goofiness. That said, a lot of people did like that goofiness. And Word says, do you see Dominic and Rhea having an on-screen romancing storyline? No. 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 That has been spoiler warning. We've been live for an hour and 15 minutes. We peaked at, let's have a look, shall we? 115 viewers. And we have had 77 likes. To be clear, I will not be hosting a SmackDown watch party tonight. That is because I just have a very busy day ahead of me tomorrow. And when it comes to Clash as well, I'm going to need some sleep. I have not lined up the SmackDown watch party tonight. We will not be having one. You're absolutely right, Michael. Spoiler warning seems to be getting longer and longer. I may have to start doing shows midweek as well, just to get through some of these questions as well. Thank you guys. So many people saying lovely things in the chat right now. We are wrapping up. Our next show will be Clash at the Castle itself. We'll be watching it in its entirety, so be sure to be there. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. I'll see you all very soon.